Hi everyone, welcome to this Quick Start Basics class tonight. We are on core number 8, which is Attend a Monthly Regional, and we're so glad to have you. Our goal is to partner to bring you this generic training, the Quick Start Basics. Our purpose is to help people grow, to educate, equip, and empower entrepreneurs, and create independent servant leaders. Tonight our goal is to equip and empower and entertain and educate you on the basics of building your business. You can build a very strong and profitable business and be able to know this right down to your core and to pass this on to other people too, onto your team as well. So we are super excited to be here with you. Before we get started, I want to let you know what we're doing this week. The MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show is every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern Time, where Jeff and I come on together in tandem and cover one of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell, #1 leadership expert in the world, and that's the #1 leadership book too. So this Monday is law number 15, which is the law of victory. It states that a leader always finds a way. Always finds a way, because there always is a way. And that's what a leader does, lead the way with that. On Wednesday night, we do a deep dive into leadership with this is a class within the school. And this is a deep dive into one of the John Maxwell books every month that we cover within the school. Besides this Quick Start Basics tonight, we have this Wednesday night MLM Leadership University class. It's also at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, also 90 minutes, also recorded for your convenience, for people who can't always hop on. And we also have discussion following the recording, or when the replay is off, just like this class. And if you are interested in this class, just private message me and I can give you information about that. We'd love to have you. It's a smaller inner circle of people, and we can really see who the regular and most serious people are in the school, the ones that are in that class. And on Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, every week, Jeff and I also come together on Facebook Live on his or my page to teach a class about network marketing. And this Tuesday is how to find leaders for your team, how to find top-notch people and producers for your team. So that's something everyone wants to know. And I should just introduce this real quick here for anybody new that might be here or watching the replay. And that is, I am Bess McCarty, coach for network marketers, also called the Shrink of MLM, and was previously full-time network marketer. Now I'm a dedicated generic coach for network marketers, helping them have breakthroughs. Jeffrey David Gamble of My Leadership Network, also certified John Maxwell trainer, speaker, and coach, has over 24 years of experience in direct sales and network marketing. Has personally recruited, I think by now, way over 500 people frontline, and it just keeps breaking records every day, actually. If you look in our Facebook group, the MLM Millionaire Club. So he and his partner, his fiancee, Brandy, the three of us are business partners in the school. And Jeff, just real quick, I'll go over these later when you're not able to be on the line, because Jeff is traveling right now and has a limited amount of time, so we definitely want to hear from you before you lose your connection. But just real quick, you guys keep track of your attendance in these classes, whether you attend live or watch the replay, because when you've completed all 10 of the 10 core, let me know, and we have an award of a certificate of completion for you for that level. And we have 10 levels in all, and we have someone just about working on level 5 right now. And Jim Bailey, I think, is leading the pack in that. So congratulations to him. And so it's an exciting kind of breakthrough consciousness tonight that we want to communicate about this 8th core. And turn it over to you now, Jeff.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so where are we going? No, I don't want to stop the video. Sorry, guys, this is kind of interesting. I'm learning how to do this via the phone tonight instead of my normal from the laptop. So I actually just got out of, this is core number 8, which is attend a monthly regional, and I'm literally at a monthly regional. We just happened to have it on Sunday instead of Saturday because the gentleman who was coming in to speak for the specific company that I work with happened to not be able to do Saturday because Saturday he was actually in Atlanta doing another event. So sometimes that happens. Hold on one second. Just making sure. Okay. So that way we can hear. So Bess, I just muted you out for the moment, if that's cool. And he gave us something that I thought maybe this would be really good to pass along. The gentleman had 37,000 people on his team, so I figure, 37,000, that guy knows what he's doing. He's made $3.5 million in the industry of network marketing. That's just network marketing money from his company. So, I mean, this is a guy that you want to listen to. And he gave me some recruiting philosophies. And he talked about the regional, and I'm going to hit the regional first. He goes, there's 3 things to a regional. Number 1 is there's the pre-regional. He goes, before the regional, there should be certain things you want to do before the regional. Now, this is all dependent on what level you're at in your business. The first thing you want to do is the pre-regional. The pre-regional is basically where you get together and say, what is my goal for the regional? Like, what am I there? Am I there just to show up and learn? Am I there to put people in the room? Do I already have people on my team, in my group, that I should bring to the regional with me? And if you don't have anybody on your team yet, then the regional not only is an education for you, it's not only a motivation for you, but it should be a place you're bringing new people to check out what you do. Just so you know, I've actually brought people who are brand new, never signed up before, to a convention. Now, they knew what the business was. They knew what the business was. They knew it was direct sales. They knew it was network marketing, but they weren't in yet. And we were kind of discussing. I said, well, have you ever been to this particular state? They're like, no. I said, have you ever been to this particular city? They said, no. I said, do you like to travel? And they're like, yeah, I love to travel. I said, do you like to try new things? Yeah. Do you like to try new food? Yeah. Do you like to meet a bunch of cool people? Yeah. I said, this may be weird, and it's not the normal way. I said, but you should probably come with us to this particular event. Now, this was years ago. And I brought a friend of mine from Indianapolis to South Carolina. And now most of you, can't get somebody to drive across town. Some of you can't even get somebody on the phone. And here's the reason. They're not looking. They're not looking, or you don't have the relationship, or you're not using the correct language to get them on the phone. But certain people who are looking, if you know the right questions to ask in the right order and you have influence with certain people, you can get them to not only drive across the country, but I've actually talked with people who have flown out of the country, had to get a passport, had to rent a hotel, had to fly internationally, had to change time zones, and they've gone to conventions and other companies just because of a recommendation, said, hey, you should come check this out. So it's possible, is all I'm saying. So there's the pre-event. The pre-event says I should bring people with me to the event if I have nobody on my team. Now, if you have nobody on your team and you're in a market where nobody's there to help you at all, then what we want to do is we want to find out where the closest event is to you and have you just go attend. Before you bring anybody, I know if you haven't been yet, it's very hard to bring somebody. I totally get that. I totally understand. Go and evaluate. Go and evaluate and say, I don't even know what to expect, so I'm going to go and I'm going to basically take inventory of what's here, what happens, what I like, what I don't, and then you're going to want to discuss that with your upline support team, somebody that's plugged in, somebody who's doing something. And the reason why you want to go over it with them is you want to be able to tell them, here's what I liked, here's what maybe there's nothing you didn't like. I don't know, but sometimes there's stuff, people like, that's too loud. Wow, there were a lot of people. I felt uncomfortable because I didn't know anybody. That's normal. But you want to have that discussion. Then there's the event itself. The event itself, obviously you want to show up early. Why do you want to show up early? I like to show up early because typically I get to meet the people running the event and I get to help out. This is really a volunteer-based business. So typically there's 1 or 2 people responsible for running a regional. Sometimes there's a handful of people responsible. And a lot of times if you show up early and ask, can you help, sometimes there's something for you to do, sometimes there's not. I get that. But I always like to show up early because if I can get in and help, typically what happens is I get to know the people who are helping out, working the table. Just some suggestions. If people are sitting at the desk, I've done this many times, I said, hey, does anybody need a drink? I know that sounds ridiculous, but does anybody need a drink? I'm going to the cafe. You know, I'm going to the cafe to grab food, because typically these are at convention centers and or hotels. So in some cases, watch this. If it's like a local hotel, I said, look, I'm going to run out and grab food. Does anybody want anything? You'd be amazed at how many people run to these events and don't have time to eat, and they're like, oh, my gosh, if you're going to run and get food, I'd love to have food. Guys, you can get further bringing somebody food than almost anything else you could possibly think of, you know, just to be able to help out. And here's the thing. If you weren't brought up like this, I was not brought up being taught these lessons about dealing with people. But if you can bring people food, it scores big. It's score big in influence. Now, if you don't have the finances to do some of this, I totally understand. But this is one of the things when I started making money, I started doing, and my influence grew exponentially. My ability to help out grew exponentially. So I show up early. I show up dressed correctly. I show up with a good attitude. These are all key things. I'm there to win. I have a notebook with me. So dressed appropriately, obviously I want to dress business or business casual depending on what the event is. Business or business casual. I shouldn't look like I just came from mowing the yard. I shouldn't come looking like I just attended a monster truck rally or a WWF wrestling meet. And I'm kind of joking around here, but I'm very serious that people show up in all kinds of different ways. I'm going to dress like a business person because I'm representing a business. So therefore, people will treat me like I dress in most cases. So I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to try to sit up front. I'm going to try to, here's what you want to do. When you walk in the room, I want you to find the 3 most influential people in the room. And that's who you want to make friends with. Not that you can't make friends with everybody, but you absolutely positively want to make friends and make, you know, when I say make friends, you want to at least connect with and trade information with. What phone number, name, different things. So you at least want to get contact information of the people who run the events. Why? Because down the road, if I'm going to trust my business, let's say I'm out of town, but I'm sending somebody to an event, that's who I want to get to know. Also, social media. Social proof is huge. Social proof is huge about what you're doing. Taking pictures with those people, influential people. You can take pictures with the person sitting next to you, but if you take a picture with an influential person, all of a sudden, that's a better connection online than you just taking a picture by yourself. So you want to take a picture with the people of influence and put that up online. Now, this is something I forget to do on a regular basis, and Brandy does on a regular basis, so we kind of balance each other out in that aspect. She's really good at that. She's like, hey, don't go away. We need to take a picture real quick, because I'm usually in conversation with somebody. So you got the before event, you have the event, and now there's the after event. After the event, you usually go hang out. Everybody right now is split between 2 restaurants, and I'm out here in the car. The reason being is my thing is keep the main thing the main thing. You always have to keep your, to me, our faith comes first, our family comes second, our career. This is a career above and beyond my network marketing company, and then my network marketing company comes after that. So my dedication is just kind of in that order. So I'm out here. But you want to hang out afterwards. Most people, new people, make this mistake all the time. What they'll do is they've been sitting in the meeting so long, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of being around these people. I don't know anybody. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go home. I'm going to rest. My mom was one of those people that was always like, we need to leave right now. You know, at the end of a football game, we need to leave right now. I'm like, why? Do we get points for being first on the road? Do we get points for being first out of the parking lot? She's like, no, we can beat out all the traffic. I'm like, what does that win you? What does that win you? What does that win you to be first out? The movie's over. Oh, my gosh, we have to leave right now. We have to get out before everybody else does. Why? What do you win by getting out first? It's almost like some kind of weird prize. In business, that's what broke people do. In business, that's what broke people do. Broke people are always the first out the door. It's just like, I think it's a work thing. You know, at work, we want to be the first out. I mean, if you've ever seen people get out on Friday of work, it looks like they're busting out of jail, right? They're running out the door. They have their track shoes on 5 minutes before the end of work. You know, they've already said goodbye to everybody 5 minutes before time's up. That last 5 minutes, they're actually watching the clock click off the last 5 minutes, and then they get to punch out, and they run out the door, and you see them race out of the parking lot, you know, like they just got out. They're free, you know, after 10 years. What do you win for doing that in business? Absolutely not a frickin' thing. In fact, it actually hurts you because basically what you're saying is the business really wasn't important to begin with. We say it's a business of relationships. The after event is where you build relationships. So if you're leaving, what are you leaving to go do? Build a relationship with yourself? Well, I need to get home to the cats. I need to get home to the dogs. I need to go home. Now, granted, if you have kids and you need to go pick somebody up, I get it. But you should have already known by being on this call, you should have already known by being on our trainings, that the after event is just as important of being at the event. Because this is where I've picked up some of the best nuggets, some of the best 1% things, some of the best tweaks, some of the best conversations, some of the best follow-up stuff that I've ever gotten. I've gotten at the after event. So I'm going to give you these 8 tips real quick, and then I'm going to turn this back over to Bess. So this is 8 recruiting philosophies, and these were good. These were really good. The first recruiting philosophy is recruiting is not a bad thing, right? Recruiting's not a bad thing. Some people look at recruiting like it's a bad thing, like it's ooey or icky or, you know, slimy or scammy, you know, because you've been told that by other people. Oh, you're a recruiter. Well, let's think about recruiting in the real world. Do professional sports teams recruit? Yeah, absolutely. If you look at what's going on right now in the professional world of basketball, in the professional world of soccer, in the professional world of football, if you look at recruiting, did you know that the recruiters, how much the recruiters get paid to go find this talent? These guys get paid big, huge money. Go look it up. Go look up what a recruiter gets for finding the star player. These sports talent agencies that find these people. Go look at the recruiter. Does corporate America recruit? Yes. The top Fortune 500 companies, at least in the United States, they have entire departments that make over 6 figures, some of them 7 figures, and all their job is to go to colleges and interview the top kids coming out of school so they can recruit the best of the best of the best onto their team. You always are in recruiting mode. And everybody recruits. Because if you're not recruiting, I mean, think about colleges. Do colleges recruit? Colleges recruit for sports. Colleges recruit for academics. Kids are sponsored based on that. So it happens across the board. Recruiting's not a bad thing. And as this trainer put it, if you're in network marketing, congratulations. Your identity is you're not a network marketer until you've recruited. So technically, you're a recruiter. And you're like, I didn't know that. I didn't know I was a recruiter. Guess what? When somebody asks me what I do, I'm like, I'm actually a recruiter and a sales trainer. That's what I tell people. Because people understand that. You're like, I'm a network marketer. People are like, I don't know what that is. And you're like, oh, well, do you know what Avon is? And oh, my God, one of those things. But when I say I'm a professional recruiter, they're like, oh, you mean like a headhunter? I'm like, yeah. They mean, oh, are you trying to recruit me? I'm like, no, we only look for sharp people. I don't say that. Sometimes I do. I mean, it depends on how, if they're like family or really good friends and they're kind of harassing me about it and they're like, oh, you know, I mean, if it's a real condescending, sarcastic, like, oh, are you one of those recruiters? You're trying to recruit me? I'm like, no, we only recruit sharp people. You know, you'd have to pay double to get in. One's for being you and one's to actually get in. I don't think they'll let you in. 2, so here's the second rule, is recruiting, building a business. This is a recruiting philosophy. It's a numbers game. It is a numbers game. If you took out a deck of cards, there's 52 cards in a deck, plus usually there's 2 jokers. Unfortunately, today, there's 52 cards in a deck still, but in real life, sometimes there's 52 jokers just before you get to the deck. You just have to run the numbers. Now, here's the way I run the numbers. And this is a way, and this wasn't part of the training, but this is my notes to myself when I read this. I said, yes, there's 52 cards in a deck, and you have to run the numbers. But here's what I would do. Run the numbers based on Maslow's law. And if you don't know what Maslow's law is, you need to go look it up. Maslow's law is the psychological hierarchy of needs of human beings. All human beings need certain things. So you can actually basically draw out this pyramid, because that's how it's drawn out usually. It's drawn out as a pyramid, and the base level is called basics. It's food, water, shelter. Food, water, shelter. Those are the basics of life. The next level up is safety and security. The next level up is belonging. The next level up is called ego or goals. And the next level up is called self-actualization or helping people. Anyway, you can go to Google and put in Maslow's law. M-A-L-S-O-W, I believe, Maslow, law. My spelling is horrible, but I think I got that one right. So Maslow's law. And if you look at Maslow's law, what you want to do is you want to be married, and he actually said this, you want to be married to your activity, but kind of slightly dating your results, right? Married to the activity. That's what I'm really focused on. I'm focused on the activity of doing this. The results are going to vary based on who the person is. And it's also based on where they're at on Maslow's law. Typically what I find is the people who struggle to recruit people usually are trying to recruit people who don't have the basics in safety to security. That isn't, they don't have those things set. That's where the problems are at. That's where the people are constantly saying, I don't have the money. I don't have the money. I don't have this. You know, but these people have all these, they look for people who don't need it, not the people who do. Oh, well, they need to make more money. That's not a person I'm looking for. Oh, but they never get to spend, you know, they're sitting at home doing nothing. That's the worst person to recruit. If they have that much time on their hand and they're not doing anything, that means they're not motivated. Not that there's not stuff to the guys. There are people who have been locked up for years that have more going for them. They just haven't had the ability to have an opportunity. Number 3, recruiting philosophy, work with the willing. Work with the willing. You can recruit, and this is why you want to recruit a lot of people. This is why the program that I'm building is called it's basically going to come out here probably within the next 3 months. It's the MLM Black Belt recruiting system, and basically this is just my own belief. If you want to make it to the top of a company, if you want to make over $100,000, your mindset has to be that you have to recruit a certain number of people. And 2, 4, 6, 8, that's not enough people. You're not going to make it. You need to become a professional recruiter, a real professional recruiter, and there's going to be levels of recruiting. I don't care what company you're in. The more people you recruit, the more likely you will find the willing ones willing to work. Number 4, you need high belief to recruit. You need high belief to recruit. High energy and high belief to recruit. So this gentleman that did our training said when he first got in, he was seeking approval. And most of us do seek approval. And he said, I was new. I wasn't a leader. I didn't know what to do. So I kind of was just scared, really. I'm going to turn this off. So he was scared. Sorry, I had it's like 300 degrees where I'm at, so I had the air conditioner on just to kind of cool it down a little bit. He didn't have a lot of belief, and he didn't have a lot of leadership. So he did this conference call, kind of like what we're doing here, and he was trying to basically motivate his team, and he got off the phone, and he hung it up, and there were just a couple people, and everybody gave their feedback afterwards, and some of the feedback wasn't that good. Some of the feedback says, hey, you are really low energy. You are really low energy. You really didn't make a lot of solid points. You made a couple of solid points, but not a lot of solid. So he was kind of depressed, and he was like, well, this isn't good. So he called his mentor. And his mentor said, okay, you know, they had some feedback that wasn't positive. Can I ask you some questions? He's like, yeah. He goes, were you smiling on the call? He's like, no. He goes, were you standing up when you did the call? He's like, no, I was sitting down. He goes, did you do some push-ups or jumping jacks or any exercises to get your, energy high before you got on the call? He's like, no, I didn't. He goes, well, maybe it's because you were low energy. He's like, which isn't a bad thing. You can fix that, right? He's like, well, yeah, I could fix it. He goes, from then on, he goes, I needed that teaching so much. He goes, from then on, I never did a call low energy again. I always checked myself. I always went and fixed myself before I got on the phone. Watch this. Every time he prospected, not trained, every time he prospected, he got kind of, and I've talked about this when in influence, anybody can influence anybody if their energy is higher. Remember, some people's energy is, let's say their energy is a 5 commitment-wise, that they're not going to join network marketing. But if you come in at a 7 or 8, you will influence them and get them to join. And it's weird. I've watched this happen where somebody comes in and they're like, nope, this just isn't for me. And somebody's like, okay, no problem. Let me show you what we're doing. So if you run into somebody, if you run into the right person, you could refer them to us. That's all I'm asking for. Okay, but I'm not doing it. No problem. So here's who we are. Here's what we do. And here's how we're building. We're putting these people in. We're driving depth underneath. And they kind of give them all the details. And the person's like, well, how much does it cost to get in? You can actually see them buy in. I've watched this happen. I can see them buy in after they told us they're not getting in. But we came in energy-wise and belief-wise higher than them. So this is part of the game. If you wonder why you're unable to influence people, it's because they're a 7 or 8 in energy of saying, I'm not going to do this, and you're trying to recruit them at level 4. And you're wondering why the words aren't working. The words will never work if you're a 4 and they're a 7. So this is something you kind of have to be aware of when you're talking to people, is be aware of what their energy level is. Is this person super dominant strong? Just kind of gauge on what level they're at. Now, I mean, you could be just blunt and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you not to do this? And if they're like 275, you're like, cool. Now I know, at least now you know what level you'd have to get to. Okay, I'm coming in at 300. It's going to be scary. So belief, all-out massive action, and check the results. Here's the thing. You don't want to look at the scoreboard every minute, but once a week, it's okay to look at the scoreboard. Where am I at? Once a month, I need to review the scoreboard. Number 5, urgency. He made a really good point. He said, look, if you're walking down your street and you see a house on fire, and it just seems to be dark out, you're coming back from a meeting, you're coming out for an event, he said, would you urgently get to that house to find out if everybody's out and okay? And everybody said, yeah. He goes, now what if you were driving down the street and you realize that house that's on fire is a good friend of yours? Would you drive faster? And everybody said, yes. He goes, now, if it was your house, how much faster are you going to drive? He goes, it wasn't that you weren't going to go fast the first time. He goes, but why did your urgency increase? He goes, the importance increased. Now, don't set anybody's house on fire. That's not what we're saying. but you want to be committed at that level. Urgent. Hey, I need to get this to you right away. Oh, well, you can call me next year. Not good enough. So what I was always taught is be urgent and or, what do they say? Not pushy. Pushy is not the right word. I can't think of what the right word is. It'll come to me. Committed, no. Convincing, no. It'll come to me. But anyway, you want to get the information in front of people. Be committed to get the information in front of people, but not necessarily, I'm not too worried about what the response is. 6, you want to remember that recruiting is the lifeblood of the business. One person can turn your entire business around. One person. That's all it takes, guys. Because if you think about it, all companies end up with a number one money earner. All companies end up with a number one money earner. But the interesting thing about the number one money earner, they typically aren't the first person that got in. Across the board, if you look at most of these companies, the number one money earner usually isn't the first person to get in. One particular company that I was kind of studying, the company actually started in 1959. The number one money earner didn't come in until 1964. That's several years, right? Several years. Now, another company that I know of, the company started in 1972. The number one money earner didn't join until 1993. 1993. Almost 20 years later. So, it's not the number one money earner isn't tied to the day the company started. So one person could turn everything around. Here's the thing. I don't necessarily have to be the person that recruits that person, but I'd love to be the person that recruited the organization that recruited that guy. Because if he's on your team, you're in good shape. 7, you want to leverage third party. You want to be able to leverage third party. Yes, it's your job to contact them. Yes, it's your job to get the information to them. It is your job to get the information to them. But then the reason why I showed you this is I really wanted to introduce you to a friend of mine that I work with. I really wanted to introduce you to a very successful person that does this, but I at least wanted you to know what it is before we talked. And here's the last one. Recruiting is a process, not a one thing. Okay, recruiting is a process. This gentleman who did this training, one of the ladies said, well, how long do you follow up? And his response back is funny. He goes, until they buy or until they die. He goes, that's it? She's like, well, what if they tell you not to call anymore? He goes, wait 3 months and call them and ask them, say, were you really serious about me never talking to you about this again? He goes, you didn't talk to them about it. You just asked them, are they really serious about it? If they say yes, he goes, wait another 90 days. He's persistent. Aggressive. That was the word. It's okay to be aggressive when it comes to getting the information in front of people, but I am not aggressive at getting them to close. It's totally up to them. Most of us, including myself for years, we are way too passive. We are way too passive about too many things. We're passive about, our health. We're passive about fitness. We're passive about confrontation. We're passive about our goals. We're passive about our dreams. And most of us are passive about getting the information in front of people. You want to be aggressive about getting the information. You need to say this every morning. I have to find somebody today to get this information to. Here's the thing. They don't have to buy it. They don't have to like it. They don't have to join. But you want to be aggressive about getting the information at least in front of one person a day. If you do that if that is your only thing, people are like, what's the one thing I can do to make this happen, is make it a goal before you go to sleep to get the information in front of one person every day. And if you can do that consistently, I have yet to see any person on the planet that I've ever worked with, if they did it consistently, not have some level of success. Doesn't mean they went to the top. It doesn't mean they made a bunch of money, but they have recruited people. They have. I've not seen anybody not recruit and not sell that was consistent with that. So that's what I have for my part of what's going on tonight. I'm going to turn the rest of this back over to Bess, if I can figure out how to operate this. Bess, unmute. Bess,
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for those points. Really like that. First, it's getting so dark there, like all I could see is your teeth. Out of your teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
I know you're still there, like the Cheshire Cat.
Like Darth Vader here in the background.
Right. Is Brandy there?
She is not. She's actually inside, and I'm going to run back in.
Oh, that's good. Okay, tell her hi, and I'm gonna I'll do my thing here. Thank you, Jeff. What we each want to do is, since the recording is going to be on even while we talk later on, and I can't turn it off, but what we're each going to do is just I'll make sure that everybody closes out so that it doesn't keep going on automatically.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I wanted to say hello as well to Pasha, Adrian, and David Roeder, who joined us after we had welcomed people here. So we will open, I believe that later on you can each unmute yourself and we can have a discussion too. So we want this to be interactive as well. But Jeff, if you're listening to this recording here, just wanted to say thanks again for those 8 points. I really liked them. Particularly 3 of them were my takeaways. One is to leverage third party, because I've actually talked to people who say, I don't use third party validation. I don't use third party calls. We instead of a 3-way call, we advise a 3-way text that leads to a third party call. But some people just don't use them, and I think they're losing out on that validation that happens from someone that is an authority aside from you who they already know. So it's really, really important. And I like the be aggressive about getting information to them, or I'll put that in my own words, be aggressive about educating, but Jeff says not about closing. I like that a lot. That really concludes with Eric Worre teaching this, just focus on educating. That's what we do. We educate and give people these options to let them choose. So I really like that a lot. And the energy part reminds me of a little story about, if your energy is greater about the opportunity here and the excitement and how it's changed your life, and if it's greater than the other person's adamancy, then no, this is not for me, then you win, right? The happier, greater, positive, passionate, committed energy wins. And there's a story of a network marketer who never thought she'd be in network marketing, but she did have a dog, and the person who gave her, and she did have some health issues, so the person gave her some samples and some testimonials along with the samples, and one of the testimonials was about, says this can help a dog. Well, she had an old and an ill dog, and so she managed to get some down her dog's throat, and the dog immediately improved, and had greater health and energy than for a few years. And then she took it, and she had great results, so she joined. And her excitement about this was so great, she wanted to get back to the company, so she started a company-wide call for all distributors who could get on specifically to discuss what it could do for animals, because she was an animal lover. And so she starts this call, and ends up like hundreds of thousands of people, end up eventually joining the call, getting a newsletter, and getting these audio tapes. She collected information, put that on there. And she said it just totally shocked her. But we think it was her energy. And she said, my passion was so great that people joined who didn't even care about animals, didn't even really like animals. They just joined because they wanted to be part of that great, happy, passionate energy. So I'm realizing how important it is to be happy myself, to take good care of myself, to give myself good exercise, sleep, and food, and to care about people, to renew my mission and my purpose every day. These are things that give me energy, health and commitment, and really what I'm here to do for people. So I have a little story I told you because this is all about getting to events and overcoming the obstacles to it. Why? Because events change us. Eric Worre says, just get your people to an event, and they will say, "I can do this. I can do this," because that's where you gather the belief, the social proof, the social validation, and the event does the training, selling, motivating for you. He says you make $1,000 for every team member in the long run. For every team member that you bring to a destination event, you make $1,000. An average. That's not high end. So it's real important to get people to events because of the shift in attitude that happens there. Many people have had their breakthroughs, including me, at events. I always walk away a different, completely changed person, let alone the contacts I make, let alone the information that I get there, but just the osmosis, the association, the energy, that collective consciousness. 1 + 1 = more than 2. And when you get hundreds of thousands of people together, that consciousness is very, very powerful. I know a lady that worked in a spiritual temple, and she said the consciousness, the energy raises when there's these hundreds of thousands of people visiting at the time of the seminar that they held around there, and they come in and visit this temple. And she goes, "This is a beautiful building, but the consciousness is not here the rest of the year. It's quite elevated. You get to be like a part of that pool, and that you get by the osmosis of being there, sort of bathing in that energy. And even if you don't listen to anything or take any notes, you walk away different. Just cellularly, you've changed from being in the consciousness. We're mostly energy. Some of you know that. Did you know that all of the solid matter in the human body, there's a whole lot of electrons spinning around the neutrons in an atom, and there's a whole lot of empty space in us, in every single cell in our body. And if you take away the empty space and you squeeze down all the solid matter in the human body, it's as big as a peanut. We are as big as a peanut, the solid part. The rest is energy and space and spinning electrons, but it's energy that doesn't take up space. So we are mostly energy, and we're influenced by the consciousness of the energy at an event. That's why to get people to events. But sometimes there's obstacles, and I want to tell you some stories tonight of people who've overcome obstacles to get to events. Maybe this can energize, help you to see what's possible, help you to be a problem solver to get to those events. They are magic. They are magic, and they change people. So there was this network marketer who his company hosted a leadership company or conference in Las Vegas, and hundreds of leaders and top income earners flew in from all over North America to huddle together and receive knowledge and training that we all knew would launch our businesses to the next level. So I was excited, he says, to attend the conference, but I was more excited to see my 6-year-old son, Drayson, who lives in Vegas. We haven't seen each other for about 3 months because he and his mother had moved there. So he's looking forward to seeing his son. That's like even bigger than the event, right? Like it would be for any of us. So the event schedule online said that for each of the days of the conference would run 9 to 5, and that left him evenings to spend with his son. So they were both anxiously awaiting to see each other. And his son came to meet him on the first night of the business presentation. His face lit up, and he came over to me and gave me a big hug. And the energy was high. The room was vibrating. The presentation started, and his son sat quietly beside him, looked like he was taking notes in the presentation. At the end of the presentation, an announcement came and said that the schedule posted on the internet was not correct. Each day of the conference would run not until 5 p.m. but until 10 p.m. each day. And with a gala dinner after that until midnight on the last day. So Drayson looked over at his dad with a look of panic and realized this meant no time with his dad on the trip. And he could feel his heart drop to his knees, but so did the dad's. And he leaned over and said, "Dad, can I come to the seminar too?" And his dad just didn't have the heart to tell him that, you know, it's against company policy for children to attend the conference. He didn't have the heart to say that to him, so he said instead, "Why don't you ask that man right there, right over there, and see if it's possible?" So Drayson jumped out of his seat and immediately walked over to the organizer of the event and said, "Since you made a mistake on the schedule, that means I won't be able to see my dad. So would it be okay if I come to the seminar? I promise to be quiet." The organizer looked at his little eyes that were reaching out in desperation. He looked at the father and he looked back on the son. He said, "Can you be really, really quiet?" And Drayson's eyes lit up, filled with excitement. He said, "Yes." So that's what he did during the whole thing. He sat quietly beside his dad, looking like he was taking notes, and continued to do that for the entire 2-day event. And so then he asked his dad, "Can I write something in your special book," his special notebook? And he said, "You have to think really big, Drayson, because this is Dad's special book." So he grabbed his pen, opened his book to a fresh page, and he started writing away. At the end of the program, the organizer asked people to come up on stage and share their testimonials from the weekend. His son looked over and he nudged him in the stomach and said, "Dad, you have to go up there." And his dad said, "Okay, but you have to come up with me too." And so they went up, and the dad grabbed the microphone and said, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You know, my name is Darren. This is my son, Drayson. The biggest impact the seminar gave me this weekend was to realize the impact it had on my son, who is 6 years old. And he realized that all of the development and all the growth transfers directly to our children." And he asked his son, you know, what he wrote in the notebook, and he said, "My dad makes $1 million per month." And the crowd roared. And there he was on stage with this 6-year-old who had gotten more out of the seminar than many people his age. And then his dad picked up the microphone and said, "Drayson, what's the most powerful word in the world?" And he screamed, "Yes." And he said, "Drayson, what's the 2 most powerful words in the world?" He said, "It's possible." So I just thought that was an awesome story. What an influence. That little boy's going to remember that forever. And what they did was they took something that looked like an obstacle to attending this event, and they made it a win. You know, together they didn't say, "Oh, now I can't see my son," or "Now I can't attend the event so that I can, you know, or I can't attend the evening hours." Instead of not attending the evening hours, he tried to make it a win-win so everybody could win. And this reminds me of another story, a lady who went to a company event, and it was in a different city than hers, but one of her best friends lived there. So she called her up and said, "I'm going to be in town." She said, "But I'm going to be at this thing. You know, you can come and stay in a hotel with me if you want, but I got to be at this thing." And she said to her friend, "Well, I can invite you along if you want to the event. You could do that. We could sit together and everything. We could share that." And her friend said, "Okay, but you know, no way am I joining or anything. I'll just do it to be with you." Well, at the end of the seminar, she joined because she heard good things, and mostly though she went out of love for her friend. That's why she went. Because her heart was open. You know, she knew her friend was not going to recruit her, but you know, at the end of the seminar, she did. She signed up under her. So very interesting what can happen at events. I had the opportunity to interview Marina Worre years ago, and she told me that that's how she met Eric. She had gotten into network marketing. She was already running a clothing shop for young children and infants in the Ukraine. And she also joined a network marketing company, did not really build it big, but she went to the events. She spent more money on the events than she actually made in the network marketing company. There's another event coming up, and she thought, oh, I can't afford, I'm not going to go to that event. But she got this strong inner nudge to go. That's where she met Eric. She was translating in Russian from the stage, and she was backstage, so she was helping out. She was backstage when she got to meet him personally. And over time, they dated long distance for a couple of years, I think, back and forth between countries. And, now they're a dynamic duo, teaching and helping people succeed in network marketing. So that's how she met him. Just sometimes, though, we run across obstacles that we think, well, this is reason for me not to go. But just ask yourself right now real quick, what would be a reason for you not to go to your next monthly regional or your company's destination event? What could not get you there? You're in the 10 core commitments here, and let's see, at least 4 of the 10 core commitments are getting to events. Number 6 is attend a weekly presentation. Number 7 is attend a weekly core training, which we're on right now. And number 8 is attend a monthly regional, and number 9 is attend all your company conventions. So the 4 of the 10 core are about getting to events. And just ask yourself, do I go to the events? And if not, what stops me? Jim Bailey just said he went to his monthly regional yesterday, and Jim and Brandy went to one today. But ask yourself, what could stop me, or what has stopped me? Is it money? Is it time? Is it busyness? Is it, other family events? Now, if I was getting married or something, or my sister was getting married, I'd rather be there. I'd rather be at the event, or my son. So I do have like Jeff was saying, your faith priorities, faith, family, and career, then your network marketing company. So there could be really good reasons, but most of the time we can get there. And I have stories about 3 deaths that the person could have used an excuse not to go, but they didn't. They actually used that as a reason to go. And Steve says, not enough money and time. Well, we know that money, and I'll just address that real quick, Steve. We know that money and time are the 2 top reasons that people give for not joining a network marketing business, right? I don't have time to do it, and I don't have money for the starter kit. So what do you tell them? What do you tell people that say they don't have enough money and time? I tell them that that's, well, I know within myself that is never the real reason. That's never the real reason. And you could even play with them a little bit, and you can say, is that really the reason? Come on, what's the real reason? Because people can always round up the money, right? It can always put in a credit card. You already know ahead of time when the regionals are, or when the company conventions are. So you know months and months ahead of time, usually 1 to 12 months ahead of time. You could get a job, you could earn that $1,000 or whatever it costs to fly and stay in the hotel and buy your ticket and all that, and buy the meals there. You could earn that $1,000 in 6 months doing something, selling your product. So the money, is it really an issue? People can find the money, people can sell, they can make the money, they can do something extra. My neighbor babysits for senior citizens. She doesn't need the money, but actually she sends it to her sister. She found a way to send money to her sister. She found a way. So the money is always there. There's a lot of money around, and we can put our hands on anytime we decide to. I know teenagers that mow lawns, they can make $1,000 in a few months if they decide to. Why can't an adult? There's money out there. There's money to make, you guys. Okay, and time. We might have to put something aside. We might have to delegate to be able to get to an event. But yeah, time and energy are real factors. And sometimes I think that I don't have enough time to do it too. I'm pretty booked up between coaching people and running classes and teaching another class besides these on personal growth, and marketing the school and doing our lunchtime lives and everything. Pretty darn busy. And yet my niece needed help moving because she was caught in a tight spot to where both her parents, one of them was out of town and one was moving herself. And other people have jobs and all that stuff. So she has 4 little kids. She's in kind of a tight spot with moving, and I just put her to the front of my list. I said, yes, I don't have time to help you. She was really, really grateful and, worried because she knows that I'm real busy and everything. And I said, yes, I really don't have the extra time to do it, but I just, you have these tight 2 weeks, 4 little kids, and your usual support system's not here, and I love you. And I just put you to the front of my list. That's all I did. I just made her a priority. So for these 2 weeks, I'm over there a whole lot every day, helping play with the kids or pack up boxes. Today we made slime in the backyard, which is Elmer's glue, baking soda, food coloring, and contact solution. And it thickens up and it makes this nice slime that the kids can play with, sort of like a Play-Doh. But, I get to, it's just wonderful for me in my heart, and I just love kids and animals, and it's real good for me. But, I didn't have time, and I don't have time, but I made time, and I just put her to the front of the line. I got that idea from Grant Cardone, who says, I don't have time to go surfing, but when I need to go surfing, it's been a while, and I just suddenly put that at the front of my day. Everything else has to wait. I just say, I'm going to put this first, For just this morning, I'm going surfing before I do that other stuff. And that's what I learned from him. Sometimes we just put it to the front. Not ahead of family needs. If I had a son in the hospital or something like that, I would be there for him. Forget the convention. But ahead of most other things, one of our class members, I think he worked, so like he could only go 1 overnight or afford 1 overnight, so he did that. He just did what he could afford, but he was there. He was at the convention, and he had to sacrifice to do it. And I think he wasn't ill or he couldn't walk or something like that, but he, found a way to make it work. This lady, a good friend named Sue, top earner in network marketing, her son died. And a week later, she was scheduled to go to a generic training with Eric Worre. And she wondered, it was sudden. It was, she was just grief-stricken. It rocked her to the core, to her soul. And she wondered, she had already signed up for this Beyond Leadership training with Eric Worre. And she wondered, can I go? Can I get myself together enough to go? And then she and her family kind of realized that, yes, she should go. It would be healing for her. So she gathers herself together. She manages to go, even though the first day she arrives late. But at least she did. She got there, right? So she's very carefully opening the door and trying to tiptoe in and not bother anybody. Finds a seat sort of near the back, and she's getting herself seated while Eric's on stage speaking, and he stops the show. And he goes, just a minute, I have to give somebody a hug. And he walks off the stage and walks directly to her and gives her this big heartfelt hug. I've experienced his hugs, and they make me cry. It really comes from his heart. And I think she did too. And she just realized she was wrapped in all this love, and yes, she had come home to family here, and they would actually help her to heal. I lost my dog. Another death story is I lost my dog of 15 years. He and I were very, very close. I didn't know you could be so close to an animal. I had no clue. But it was quite a love that we had. 15 years, lost him in January. And a month later was the regional that Jeff and Brandy put on in Indianapolis. And it was sleeting, snowing, January, worst time of year. roads were bad. Usually I would drive to there and I'd take my food along, my organic foods and juicer and all that kind of stuff. Roads were too bad to travel safely. And I wondered if I had the time and energy and if, to go. And there was a whole bunch of reasons not to go besides being busy and on all this stuff. And they just really urged me to go. They said, we really want you to be here. What would it take? Should we drive? Should we fly to you and drive you out or whatever? And because they were just so willing to, like, we'll fly to you. We want you here. We'll drive you out if you need your food or whatever. I said, heck, I'll just fly out. I'll just fly out. Well, there was a whole lot of delays with the flights and all that stuff, being that they had to do ice planes and everything was delayed days and days. However, my flights were perfect. Just went ding, 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 no delays at all, no trouble with the weather or anything like that, even though there were planes before me and after me that did. So I got there, and actually, it was my second time visiting out there, attending one of their events, and I actually got to know them a lot. I actually got to stay in their home, and their cat slept with me and helped me heal, missing my dog, and it was good for me. It was good for me to be out there. I know it's just a dog, but some people who are dog lovers can understand. So there's all sorts of reasons not to go, but I went. And I remember when my mother passed away about 7 years ago, it was 1 week later that there was a spiritual event in my state. It was like a regional event. And I went. And someone said, well, that shows your dedication to this. But actually, it was very selfish because I knew that it would help me heal, and it was my kind of lifeblood. It was my stability just when I needed to go. I needed to attend that. So there's a story of 3 deaths, that could have been an excuse not to go. But it was very, very helpful. I've attended some events that I've had to just attend partly, in order to get caught up on things or to get a little sleep. So that's what I did, but I still got there. Sometimes it takes supporting. The person might need a little support. Like there is a spiritual seminar coming up in October, and my first grandchild is due in San Diego at the end of September, and I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to be traveling out to see her. And the spiritual seminar is in Minneapolis, and I'm wondering if I can do both. And I have a good friend who I've roomed with before at these spiritual seminars, and she is kindly holding a room for me. She goes, you can be last minute. You just let me know. If you want to come and be in the room, it's here. And I'm not going to replace you with anybody else. It's just here for you if you want it. And, if you don't, it's okay. So she was just so kind as to hold that open for me for my not knowing exactly, if I could attend or not. So I feel very touched about that. But sometimes people just might need a little help that way. I know a good friend, very passionate network marketer. He rented a whole bus for his whole team. He drove his team out. It's like they couldn't, there was no reason not to go because he was scooping them all up and carrying them out in this bus, this big old bus he rented. I don't know, held like 30 people or something like that. Although that's a good solution. Instead of, everybody find your own way to get there, everybody drive or fly or whatever, he just said, we're all going on this bus. And he sort of you couldn't resist because he just made it easy, and it sounds like a good time, and they're all getting together. And he's just going to take care of everybody that way. I know Eric Worre got to an event when he was just beginning. I think one of his first events, and he slept in his car. He brought sandwiches along to eat. Everybody else would be going out to eat. He'd go out to his car and eat his sandwiches and say he had another commitment. And I don't know if you can sleep in your car anymore, but safely or if it's allowed or whatever. But, at that time, he just slept in the parking lot. I think it was in Vegas. And he would go in early in the morning before other people did and go to the washroom and, wash up and change his clothes into his nice clothes and everything. Then he'd be waiting in the lobby for when people came down to go into the seminar. So he'd be ready to go into the seminar that way. And nobody knew that. So he found a way. He found a way to not have to pay any lodging or meals. Some people will drive an RV out, and I think that you can park them at Walmart overnight and sleep in them if it's before after certain hours and before certain hours. So just creative ways that people have found. I feel kind of touched by that. I spoke about my niece. This is not network marketing. This is a family event, but I consider this very important too. Just an example of how people help each other. So the same niece that's moving, right after they suddenly found the house and found they had a month to move, this happened a month. It happened they found out they were to move right at the time they were supposed to leave, like in a few days later, for a family vacation that they had planned for a whole year. My brother and his wife had gotten this timeshare and planned for all of them to go there and make memories and see Mount Rushmore up in Nebraska and everything. And all of a sudden they find out they're moving, and my niece says, "Dad, I don't know if we can go on this vacation with you all because we're just going crazy." You know, her husband had to suddenly his to-do list of things he wanted to get around to fixing with the house, all of a sudden he had to fix them right away because it was being inspected and sold. And he was already working 2 jobs so that she could be home with 4 kids as a mom and be home with their 4 kids. He was already working 2 jobs. Now he's doing this, fixing up everything on the house under a deadline, and they're supposed to leave on vacation in a few days, and they're supposed to move in a month. So she goes, "I think, we're just going crazy here. I don't think we can do it." And my brother said to her, "Well, what would it take? What kind of help would you need for us together? We really want to make this family memories. It's a chance for the kids to see Mount Rushmore and all this stuff. What would it take?" She said, "If we help you do this or this, or your husband can sleep on the way, and how can we help you to get ready to go?" So they stretched, they went, and they're glad. And part of the help is that when they got back, I said, "Okay, when you get back, you're going to have 2 weeks before you move. I'll be there for you, and I'll help you with the kids and help pack." So that's what we did. We sort of, as a team, wanted this to happen for them. So everybody pitched in. And, that's the way it is with life. When you reach a stretch goal for something worthwhile and something good, I think that my experience is life likes to support you in that, and people come forward and help you. There was a network marketer who got her house. She had to evacuate her house when Hurricane Katrina hit in Louisiana a number of years ago, probably like 9 years ago now. And so she had to leave. She left her product at home because she thought, "I'll be back soon," but she wasn't. It was months before they went back home. But here she is without product, without a business. She had a place to stay. She actually said that there was network marketers in 9 states who offered her a place to stay. She said, here it is, we're victims of Katrina and all that, but we could live anywhere in the U.S. we want to. And the company itself sent her the new product at no charge for her to be able to continue her business and do her home parties until she could get back to her home months later in Louisiana. I think it was New Orleans. And she said she really experienced the network part of network marketing and the family that helped her to do all of this stuff. So that's what I mean, that when you have a stretch goal, like getting to an event, even though it's hard, I think somehow life wants that for you. Like I wanted for my niece, and said, "Go, I'll be there when you get back. I'll help shortcut your packing and all that stuff, so that you can go make these memories with your family and with my brother, because I love him dearly." And life likes to support us in that. People reaching for something worthy, like we want to help, and it gives them a good feeling. Gave people a good feeling to support people about Katrina, because you hear something on the news and you feel helpless, and if you're able to contribute in some way or offer something, you feel real good, like, okay, there's something I can do. Maybe we all felt like that around 9/11. I know I did. I found a way to give, and then I felt better. It's almost like a human need that we have. And there is a poem by Scott. I meant to pull that up to read, but I think it was like the Himalayan expedition, and he quoted a poem by Goethe that says, "The moment that you commit to something, then all heaven and earth moved, and all of providence moves to support you in that goal." and all manners of unforeseen instances that you could not have expected to happen in order to support you in your goal. It's almost magical that life almost steps up and matches your commitment to get to that event, to get to that seminar, because of the good things that are meant to happen there. So that is my pep talk about getting to seminars. And one last thing I would like to say is that it seems to me that the more effort, energy, expense, time, attention, planning, and details, you know how much details it takes to make a trip. You know, your plane, your shuttle or your cab service, how are you going to get from the airport to the hotel, and what time do they need you to pick up? Do you need reservations to be picked up to take back, and how early? There's millions of details. And my observation is that the more effort and energy and investment that you put into an event, the more you get out of it. Not only because you want to get your money out of it, and your money's worth out of it, but it seems like that's the payment up front for the beautiful breakthroughs that you get, and you're more present for those breakthroughs. They mean more to you because you invested yourself in this time and energy to get there. And that almost borders on the word karma. And I just want to speak for just a moment about karma, that this is true. To me, karma is that every single deed comes back to us in one way or another. And that means the good deeds that you do, the people that you reach out to in network marketing and present to, this effort, whether you see the results right away or not, this effort seems to be recorded somewhere in life's ledgers. And life remembers it and brings you the reward somewhere at some time. It might be in personal growth that you get by doing it, or it might be all of a sudden that mysterious, long-wished-for top earner appears on your team and shoots you to the top. Like it did for a client of mine. She happened to recruit a really high top earner that's spoken on Eric's stage. And you know, it took her business for a ride. It shot her up into this was Haley Hobson, who became a multimillionaire in network marketing, shot my client up into the six-figure income pretty fast. Allowed her to quit her corporate job and be with her son as a single mom, and allowed them even to travel the country and make memories and make other moms jealous. That, of course, she then told them how she did it with network marketing. But you see somebody get a big win like that and you think, oh, they're lucky. But you might not see all of the many no's that they had to go through to get to that point, or before that happened. I believe that life is really, really fair, and somehow unseen, that person earned that in some way. I believe that no good effort from the heart ever goes out, no effort ever goes out that is not remembered and returned to you in some way. Whether suddenly it looks like you have to weather, life tests your persistence, like weather through the nose before you get your big win. Every network marketer, every top earner has had to go through the discouragement of it, driving to a meeting 10 hours away and they assure you there's going to be 50 people there and nobody shows. And this happens again and again and again and again. But they keep going, they keep going. They get better at training the people and, coaching them how to get people to events and all that. But they weather through that learning curve. And then the reward comes later in huger amounts than they probably even put in. So just as a word of encouragement, I like to remember myself, too, that even if you don't see the results now, I believe that life keeps an invisible ledger somewhere and returns those to you in some way and somewhere. Nothing is ever, ever lost, you guys. Do not get discouraged. Just keep sowing the seeds and keep putting it out there. And keep attending the events and keep doing your presentations. I wonder if, and of course, next time our 10 core commitments is number 9, attend all monthly regionals. attend all monthly conventions, I'm sorry. And I'm just going to read the 10 core again, just so you refresh them. Number 1, get started right. Number 2, be here a year from now. That means commitment. And number 3, personal growth. Number 4, market daily. Number 5, present daily. Number 6, attend a weekly presentation. 7, attend a weekly core training, which you're doing right now. 8, attend a monthly regional. 9 to 10 all company conventions. And 10, create a massive monthly action plan. So next week is the core number 9, attend all company conventions. Usually at this time we would turn the recording off, but since Jeff has the controls on that, we're going to go ahead and let the recording go until we go ahead and log off. I would like to, well, first of all, I would like to share a story that Steve left here, because I told stories that were not necessarily about network marketing conventions, but they were, or events, but they were the same principles. And Steve read and wrote a little bit ago, it says, reminds me of when I went to, I think it was when Jeff said, you know, go early and stick around afterwards. And Steve said, reminds me when I went to a Labor Day concert and I would stick around to meet the band members and the conductor. It was the West Virginia Symphony Orchestra. How special to do that and get to be in touch with the people who were putting it on, who are performing. Maybe even get your picture taken with them, you know, for validation on network, on social media. But it's very good. I wonder if Jim Bailey, I think, is still on here. And I wonder if if you have a story, Jim, because you went to your regional yesterday. I wonder if you have something to share about that. Particularly, I'm interested in how it changed you before and after, and would you recommend other people going? Are you glad you went? Or have you ever heard somebody say, well, I guess I didn't really need to go after all? I've never heard somebody say that. People who make a sacrifice to go, they always say, well, I'm really glad I went. I'm really glad I stretched. I'm really glad I did it. Never yet heard somebody say, I really didn't need to be here. You know, it's quite the opposite. So, Jim, would you care to unmute yourself or just respond? You know, if you have something to share about your monthly regional that you attended yesterday. Is this Jim W. Groupon line? Is that Jim Bailey? I think it is. Can you unmute yourself? I can't. Oh, we had someone join us at 313. Not sure who that is, but I can find out by typing it into my phone right now. That's how I find out who you are, because you're in my phone. 3570158. That's Doris. Welcome, Doris. I still don't have everybody's numbers memorized. 313, Doris. Okay, do you guys have the ability? I would like to, first of all, hear if there are any stories of attending monthly regionals where you felt changed as a result, or why you went, or what you got out of it. That's what I'd like to hear first. And then second, after we hear that, if there are any stories, then second, I would like to open up for takeaways. And then I would like to open up for questions. So I believe you guys can unmute yourself. Whoever would like to speak, who might have a story about attending a monthly regional. And Steve is unmuted, I see.
Yes, I've never attended anything like that, but on a takeaway, I like the excitement part on, if you could think of ideas mostly to yourself, if you're not excited at the moment for whatever reason. I like to give an example, like maybe take a moment on your phone or in your head of a good motivational song like Rocky off the movie or something, kind of build yourself as a pep talk, so to speak. Maybe that will help, because it can happen. And I like that concept of what Jeff was saying, although when I joined with mine, I had things that's being told as I was totally blowing out of the water, because I didn't need all that. I didn't have a need. It was just totally different, I guess. I guess where I was kind of like looking more involved in the money than the products, but I try to understand the product, and I need to learn more about it. I admit that, but life takes away with me too much. But I wanted to be sure to mention on the takeaway part the excitement to have, and a couple of ideas to build it if you don't happen to have it at the time. Does that make sense, Beth?
If you don't have time?
If you don't have the excitement at the time, for whatever reason,
yeah,
I guess that can happen, right?
Definitely. It's not something that it becomes a habit, but not a given, and we have to, increase it before you talk with before you do any prospecting, before you do any presentations.
Kind of like if you talk to a few people and you get shot down, it kind of brings your level lower, and you got to think, how am I going to fix that? You know.
How do you fix it?
Well, I mean, you got to fix it. I mean, I guess it varies on who you are and how you fix it.
Right. Do you remember the?
Vary upon the persons.
Do you remember? Go ahead.
I was just going to say the best example I can think of is maybe make you a list of songs, and to get it, not to play the whole song, but just to get you, well, quite you and me, like back in the 80s, you know, a couple of hits that really made it in there, and so it'll get you probably your self-esteem or your mood built back up to where you know you can do it, but the key word is, I guess, eventually, where it's a game of numbers, and you gotta think 2 or 3 steps ahead, like the option of what direction you're going to go. I don't want to get sidetracked too much, but you know, like if you're prospecting, like I say, prospect while you're out. Don't go out to prospect, but the whole point in going out a lot of times is to that prospect. And yeah, I kind of think, okay, where in the area, like what restaurant would I go to eat at that I would have a chance of meeting someone new, or a car dealership where they wouldn't mind. They got like a place set up for coffee and sometimes a little snack just to hang out at the water cooler or catch a conversation with someone. You never know what might happen.
Awesome.
I don't know.
Yeah, get out and meet people. So, do you remember some of the tips that Jeff gave about how to get your energy up?
Let's see, like,
I love your idea of music. So singing and dancing can get you breathing and get your blood pumping, and you know you're going to feel good after that. Singing along with the song that you mentioned,
yeah,
or dancing along with it.
Yeah, like if you know the group Tears for Fears, as an example, is that song "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" or something like that. That seems to be an upbeat, pick-me-upper, I guess, for me anyway.
What about that song, Are You Happy?
I wouldn't go that far. Let's see. Well, as examples, I think he was saying, well, I don't know if it's part of it, but helping people out if you're early or late, or think about top earners maybe on what they would say or do. I guess they've been there, done that. And it's hard to put yourself in other people's shoes a lot of times. I mean, personally myself, I know I'm not trying to make up excuses or legitimate reasons. I'm trying to get things at the house caught up so much to get ready for winter time, to make time for going out and meeting people, and to think the grass ain't gonna cut itself. And I got a lot of things going on, and I got to get out and divide up my time. And I'm looking for local events like next weekend. There's I don't know if it's a new area there. Christmas in July, Santa Claus cookout at a local car wash. It's next Saturday. I'm gonna be sure to go, and there'll be a lot of people there, and a lot of conversations, and you know, I hear it on the radio all the time. Christmas in July, bring a toy for the a brand new toy for like donations, and that'll help get the ball rolling. You know.
One of your club members, Jerry Hatton, attended a home expo demonstration or fair or something like that, and walked away with, I don't know, like 45, Jerry, I forget how many, 45 contacts.
Business cards.
So, okay, so other ways to get our energy up is to smile while we're talking on the phone. And I invite you guys, if you can see me right now by video, I invite you to close your eyes and just experience the difference in my voice, because I'm going to demonstrate smiling and not smiling. Okay, so now I'm not smiling, and I hope that you can hear how this sounds. And now I'm smiling, and I wonder if you can hear the difference in how this sounds. Because all the, you know, the only thing is that my lips are up, so that's the only difference. Could you hear a difference?
Maybe the pitch.
I don't know why, but it's just my mouth is wider and open, and you know, versus not smiling. And now I am smiling. It makes me feel different. So body-mind, I'm a body-mind therapist, and what you do with your body affects your body-mind or your energy. And so just smiling, holding a good posture, standing up straight, can immediately increase your energy. And remember, standing in the power pose, you could put your hands on your hips, make your body bigger in some way, put your hands up in a V. You know, these are all power poses, making your body bigger, open. And it gives me like instant confidence, you know, over, you know, sitting a little slumped or my head forward or, you know, not breathing fully. But when I open it up and do a power posture or anything like that and smile, you can just feel the energy quite different. You know, it's an expanding energy. So those are tips. Stand, sit, walk around on your phone while you're talking to people. That's what I do when I'm the most excited. I'm walking around. I'm in motion. So thank you. Let's give other people a chance too. And thank you, Steve. You always have some cool points to bring up. And I see that Becky has unmuted herself.
Yes.
I hear ya.
Okay, I'll just tell you what my personal preferences were tonight.
Sure.
I like that 8-step recruiting philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't what I was going to start with, but anyway. I like that high energy and belief to recruit, and that whoever has the greater energy wins.
Mm-hmm.
Use the leverage of a third party. And I like that idea about be aggressive in getting that information out to educate people. get the info in front of at least one person a day.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems doable. Wait until I get started and see how it works out.
Mm-hmm.
So money and time to the two top reasons for not joining, not going to not joining your company, or probably not going to a regional or something. And I like the idea that all of Providence moves to support you in your goal. The more effort and energy you put in, you have to put into it, the more you'll get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And every single deal comes back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid to go ahead and just put yourself out.
I'll call that the law of karma, that whatever we put out
like
comes back. Life is a mirror, and life will return to us, whether it's service or selfish or fear or love.
No good effort from the heart ever goes out that is not returned in some way.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, you and Jeff both, and other people who have contributed tonight. I really enjoy this.
And thank you, Becky.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
And would anyone else like to unmute their phone? If you're not sure how, you could press *6. If you don't have an unmute button on your phone, you could press *6, and that can also unmute you. And I wonder if anyone has a story about attending an event, like especially a monthly regional, but attending any event, what it took to get there, what you got out of it, how it changed you, why you recommend it, or would like to hear your takeaway or a question that you have, any of those things. So I know we're just winding down the last few minutes here, and is there anyone else who would like to unmute themselves by pressing *6 or the unmute on your phone? We haven't yet heard from Pasha, Doris, Jim Bailey. Just feel free to unmute yourself or not. And you know, the after event, it was at one of Eric Worre's events that I was in the airport, and that's where I met a lovely young man named Jacob Rakowski. He was 21 at the time, now he's 23 or 4, married, doing great in his network marketing business, but we ended up just really strongly connecting, and I ended up coaching him into 6 figures. And he said it was due to the personal growth work that we did that got him into 6 figures. He was trying to break through into that for a couple of years and just felt stuck. We did this personal growth work, and he said due to that, that shifted him into the 6 figures. And the last couple of years he's been traveling the world, posting pictures on Facebook, and just got married to a most wonderful lady. And then I got to meet his parents and become good friends with them at the events. So you never know, who you'll meet in the airport afterward. Even after you leave the event or on the ride to the airport or anything like that, it can be quite interesting what happens before and after an event. Okay, last chance for anyone else who has not spoken or unmuted. This is your chance. Share a story. Y'all have been to events. I'd love to hear how it changed you, why you went, how it changed you, how you got people to come along with you, if you have. Would you believe that at one of the first Eric Worre events, we had, I think, about 6 people from the school attend with me. And we bought tickets for the next year for people, and they were all bought up, and they came the next year because they were, you got a good deal if you bought a bulk. So I bought a bulk tickets for the school members. to go next year with you. And we had a big luncheon there, and we had our own private little luncheon at that event. So how do you get people to events? One way is, you go and you buy up the discount tickets for the next event and get those to your team. You can have contests and get people. The first person who buys their ticket, first person who gets their plane fare, or rewards contests for how many people they bring. What if you bring 10 people and your goal is for each of them to bring 5 people? And you help them to do that through the year and plan for it ahead of time. It's coming up, you plan for it, you get the babysitter, the pet sitters, you earn the money for it, you make the reservations, you plan to bring 5 people. That's what you can do in a 6 to 12 months notice for a big event. Have your whole focus on that. Eric Worre says bringing people to events is the most money-making skill in network marketing. The most money-making skill. You still have to do the recruiting, presenting and recruiting to be able to get a team to bring. But that is the most money-making skill. People who get to events, they change. Okay, going once, twice, 3 times. Anybody else? Comment, question, story. Okay, in that case, we thank you for coming on. Next time is core number 9, attend all company conventions. So we'll learn more about that and the importance. That will be our 4th core, talking about getting people to events. I thank you all for coming to this event. I acknowledge you for doing number 7 over and over, the people who are the most regular on here, and the people who are watching the replays. I'm including you because some of you have commitments, late night, church, job, family, whatever, and that you are faithful about watching the replays. Remember to let me know when you've completed all 10, and we'll issue a certificate to a recognition of that level. We have 10 levels in all. So good night, everyone.
Good night, Beth.
I'm going to wait till everybody's gone to close out because we need to do that to stop the recording. Good night, everyone. See you next time. Thank you for your inputs.